tell, then you see the road. I'm out to my soul into the sides whenever the smoke clear out of my face and my picture perfect. Do it. All of that green together, the truth, yeah. Tell you the
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to Cypherfics. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the fourth part of, What If Dannyphantom Meets Powerpuff Girls? Special note, this fanfic is written and a masterpiece of Phantom Fan 21 on FANFICTIONnet. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. Finally. Buttercup groans. The girls flew down, hanging over the crooks to the police. Sorry about that, girls. The Mansons were holding us up again. Marcus said. Ugh. Officer, can I please punch them? Buttercup groans. Trust me, you're not alone, but I'm going to have to deny your request, Buttercup. He said, sighing. Buttercup looks down before Blossom checks the time. Sorry, officer, we have to go. She said. No problem, girls. Thanks again. Marcus smiles. They smiled and flew away. Once they were far enough, Buttercup let out a loud shout. Ugh. She screams at the top of her lungs. Buttercup. Blossom yelled as she and Bubbles cover their ears. I can't take this anymore. I'm so sick and tired of my aunt and uncle trying to kick us out without thinking what would happen if we do leave. She said, wanting to punch something. Trust me, Buttercup. We all want the Mansons to stop. But your uncle already pays top dollar to stay in the voting. Blossom said. Gra. Buttercup groans. Bubbles was about to speak when her cell phone went off. She pulled it out and saw a text. Hey, just messed you. I was wondering if you wanted to talk. Blade. She blushes before texting back. Just a little girl time with my friends. Do you want to meet up at the park? Tina. SSS sure. How about in 10? I need to make sure my sister doesn't drag me into different stores trying to get me ready for our time together. Blade. Okay. See you then. Tina. Texting your boyfriend? Buttercup smirks. BB Buttercup. She shrieks in surprise. Hanging out at the park, huh? Buttercup smirks. Buttercup, leave her be, Blossom said before Buttercup could tease her more. Oh yeah? How are things with you and Jesse? Did you tell him you're a superhero? Buttercup smirks. Blossom glares at the green Powerpuff. Buttercup, you know very well I can't tell him that. We agree to keep our family and loved ones out of our hero life. Unless you want Danny to know. Blossom said then smirks. Hey. That's your brother. Buttercup said. Who asked you out on a date? Blossom smirks. Nice try. But it wasn't a date. Buttercup said. I also hear that he wants to meet your parents. Blossom smirks. Come on, Blossom, that's not going to work. Buttercup said, crossing his arms. However, Blossom was trying to tease Buttercup about Danny. She was giving Bubbles a chance to leave without getting teased by Buttercup more. Later, Amity Park's park. Tina made it to the park, thankful for Jazz distracting Melina. She looks around for Blade but didn't see him yet. He did warn her that his sister would try to spend hours getting him ready because he's hanging out with her. She heard a chip and saw Bullet next to her. Hello, Bullet. She said, petting the young squirrel. She chips and runs up Tina's arm before rubbing her cheek, causing Tina to giggle. I'm just waiting on someone. She told the squirrel. Bullet chips, causing Tina to giggle again. Sounds like you're jealous. She said, surprising Bullet. She made some angry chips, and Tina knew if she could, she was blushing as well. Relax, Bullet, he really nice. He has the same kind of life as me. He lost his parents and was taken in by a new one. However, he still lives with them while I had to live with another family. Tina told her. Tina. Both the human and squirrel looked up to see Blade running up to them. Phew, made it. My sister almost dragged me into a store. He said, trying to catch his breath. It's okay. Bullet was keeping me company. Tina smiles. Bullet? Blade asked before seeing the squirrel on her shoulder. A squirrel? Is it your pet? Blade asked. Bullet started chipping angrily, causing Blade to take a step back. Tina quickly calms her down. Bullet is not a pet. She's my friend. Tina told him. Sorry. It's just, I've never seen you with a squirrel before. Blade said. Bullet chips and Tina gasps. Bullet. She said, glaring at the squirrel. Bullet chips again and Tina glares harder. You take that back, young lady. She yelled at the squirrel. Bullet turns from Tina, pulling off a human stance by crossing her arms and sticking her head up. Bullet. Tina growls. You can understand her. Both human and squirrel turned back to Blade, who was shocked. Oh. Well, a little bit. Tina blushed. Tina thought it was so strange. On the day her parents wanted to move, Tina ran into a forest to be alone. She was surprised to see the animals surrounding her, and she could speak to them. She had a feeling that the Chemo X inside her was the reason she could. Wow, that's awesome, Tina. Blade said, smiling. Tina blushed and looks towards the ground. Blade took a breath before walking up to her. So, do you want to walk around the park? Bullet can come if she wants. He asked her. Bullet made another chip before hopping off of Tina's shoulder and running up a tree. I'll take that as a no. Blade said, making Tina giggle. Later. Both Tina and Blade walked through the park talking about many things. Tina was enjoying her time. With crime dealt with, for now, there was nothing that was calling her away to be Bubbles again. Hey, Tina. Blade spoke up, causing her to look at him. I'm sorry about what happened with your family. Both of them. I know it must be hard. He said. It's okay, Blade. The Fentons are a lot nicer than my last family. Jack and Maddie might be scientists, but they truly care for their kids. They made me feel like part of their family. Tina smiles. Yeah, I get that. Blade smiles. Well, what do we have here? Both blondes turned, and noticed Paulina walking up to them. Blade sighs, knowing why she was here. Get lost, freak, Paulina said, pushing Tina back. Tina glares at Paulina. Since it was discovered that Tina wasn't really the daughter of the Dearmans, and that she was now living with the Fentons, the A-listers have been trying to shame her. However, Blade's mother had forced the teachers to stop favoring the group, causing a huge change at school. Hello, handsome, Paulina said, trying to get close. Blade dodges her, glaring at the so-called Queen of Casper High. Forget it, Paulina. It not going to change my mom's mind. He said. Paulina just kept smiling, trying to touch Blade. I wish she was a supervillain. That way I can have a reason to become Bubbles and beat her up. Tina thought before grabbing Blade's arm and pulling away. Hey! Paulina shouted as Blade nodded in thanks to Tina. Get lost, Paulina. Tina said, glaring at her. What did you say? Paulina shouted. You heard me. Tina said, getting in her face. Ugh. Get out of my face. Paulina said, pushing Tina back. An acorn hit Paulina's head, causing her to glare at nobody. Tina knew who threw that and had to stop herself from giggling. Look, Paulina. No matter what you do, no matter what you said, my mom isn't not going to drop the charges against the schools and your families. And trying to date me is not going to work because mom already knows the kind of person you are. Blade said. Appealing. Smart, and the most popular girl. Paulina smirks. Not even close. Blade said, crossing his arms. Tina then walks up, wrapping herself around Blade's arm, causing the boy to blush at the feeling. Now, if you don't mind, Painlina, we were taking a walk. She said. You. With him? Ha. He's way out of your league, girl. Paulina laughs. So. I don't like him because he's rich. I like him because we understand each other. Tina said. And just because I was taken in by a rich family, doesn't mean I'm going to think I'm better than everyone else. Blade added. Paulina growls before she pushes Tina again, this time, she fell in the PND behind her. Blade grasps before he grabs Paulina and pushes her away. What do you think you're doing? He shouted. Getting rid of her, Paulina said, not caring. Blade saw Tina pull herself out, soaking wet. Luckily, Tina wasn't wearing any white clothes. She knew what could happen if white clothes got wet, which is why she headed back to Fenton Works to change before coming here. Are you okay, Tina? Blade asked. Tina looks at Blade before turning around, grabbing Paulina, and threw her into the pond. Yes, yes I am. She smiles. Wow. He said as Paulina pulled herself out. How dare you? My clothes. My makeup. She screams. Did you forget that I'm friends with Melina Manson? She taught me a few things about standing up for myself. Tina said, ready to throw her back in. You'll pay for this. Paulina shouted before stomping away. Tina sighs as Blade looks at her in shock. Wow. He said, speechless. Sorry about that. Tina blush. No, that was awesome, Tina. I mean, when we first met, you were a shy girl. And now you stood up for yourself. Sure, throwing Paulina into the pond might be overdoing it, but after what she was trying to do, it was worth it. Blade smiles. Tina looks down, her face turning red. And I guess Bullet gave a paw too. Thanks, Bullet. Blade said, shouting to the trees. They heard a chip and giggled/chuckled. Well, I better get back to Fenton Works and change again. So glad I'm not wearing a white shirt. Tina groans. Blade blushed as he tried to shake that image from his mind. He was not one of those people. His mother would kill him if he was. How about I walk you home? He said, fighting his blush. Thank you. Tina smiles. With that, the blondes left the park, with Bullet watching them from the trees. She smiles as she saw how the boy cared for her friend. With a nod, she turns and bolts across the trees, returning to her family. Melina groans as she heard her mother and uncle argue downstairs. Yes, Jeremy was scared of his sister, but he still thinks that he living the family name right. And they were pretty loud. She's my daughter. Sarah shouted. She's ruining our family name. You need to treat her better. Jeremy shouted back. Oh, so you want to be like Dad? Thinking that our money is more important than how I should raise my daughter. Sarah told him. You're not raising her at all. You've been going on trips. Jeremy shouted. Not every time. I'm there for Melina. I wish I could say the same with Sam. Sarah shouted back. Samantha shouldn't have hung out with those two troublemakers. Jeremy said. Oh. So everyone should hang out with people that are just like us. News flash, little brother, the world isn't like that. Sarah shouted. Maybe it should. Jeremy shouted. Melina groaned before she heard her phone chime. Thinking it was Jazz or Tina, she picks it up and noticed that it wasn't from either of them. "Hey, Malina. It's Danny. I'm not interpreting anything, am I?" Malina smiles and texted back. "Nah, Mom and Uncle Jeremy are fighting again. This time about me. Uncle thinks I'm ruining the family name, though Mom doesn't think so. Geez, you think your uncle will learn that he can't force everyone to follow his way? I swear, I'm not going to vote for him no matter what. Ha! I'm saying this right now. Uncle Jeremy would only run the office for one day before the town wants him off the seat. Yeah. I still can't believe he thinks that the Powerpuff Girls don't belong here. I mean, half of the town knows they are here to help. And even with the other half not being unsure, kicking 3 girls out because they have superpowers doesn't make it right." Malina sighs. She was lucky that Mayor already had that covered. "Well, anyway. I have some plans today. I was wondering if you can join me." Malina blinks. Danny wanted her to hang out again. "Do you mean with you, Tucker, and Sam?" "I mean, me and you. Like last time." Malina felt her cheeks warm up before shaking her head. "Sure. When and where should we meet? How about the arcade? Say in 10 minutes. Sounds good. I got to let my parents know. Which will also mean I have to tell Uncle Jeremy and Aunt Pamela since they're here too. Yikes. Well, go forget to bring some quarters." Malina smiles as she grabs her jacket and opened her door. "Oh, hey, Sam," she said, seeing her cousin. "Malina," Sam said, sighing. "Still arguing?" Malina asked. "Yep." Sam nodded. "I don't think Uncle Jeremy is ever going to change," Malina said. Sam rolled her eyes before noticing that Malina was wearing her jacket. "Where are you going?" Sam asked. "Your friend invited me to the arcade. We're supposed to meet up in 10 minutes. Unless Uncle Jeremy tries to stop me." Malina sighs. Sam blinks, wondering who her cousin was talking about. "Anyways, I better let Mom and Dad know I'm heading out." "See you later, Sam," Malina said. Malina knew that Sam had feelings for Danny. But she kept denying them, which was a bad idea. By refusing to admit that she sees Danny as no more than a friend, she's slowly pushing him away, causing him to move on and find another girl. In this case, her. Malina wasn't going to lie. She may be a tough girl, but Danny was just too kind to hate. She had to admit that she was starting to gain a crush on Jazz's brother. "Mom, Dad. I'm heading out," she called out, causing her mother to turn. "Where to, Malina?" Sarah asked. "One of Sam's friends invited me to the arcade. I'm going to meet up in 10 minutes. And Uncle Jeremy, don't even try and stop me," Malina told them. Jeremy opened his mouth, but Sarah spoke over him. "Sound nice. You have to bring him over sometime. Without Jeremy hanging around," she said, glaring at her younger brother. "Sarah. You can't let her hang out with someone that is not even part of our lifestyle," Jeremy said, glaring. "Malina is allowed to hang out with whoever she wants. I don't care about the family name, Jeremy," Sarah shouted before the two started arguing again. Malina rolled her eyes before waving towards her dad and soon left. Sam was watching from the stairs before pulling out her phone. Arcade, 10 minutes later. Danny was standing by the doors, waiting for Malina to show. He was aware that she could get held up because of her uncle, but he knew she'll show up. "Hey, Fenton." Danny turns and saw Malina walking up. Danny couldn't help blushing at the sight of her. Though she was 2 years older, Danny couldn't stop thinking how amazingly awesome she was. He's still having a hard time believing she was Sam's cousin. And how she and Jazz get along so well. "So, what games do you have in mind?" Malina asked, causing him to break from his thoughts. I got a few. Even heard that a new game just came in. Danny said. Sure, I haven't been to an arcade in ages. My dad took to one when I was little. Melina said, smiling. Well, I hope I can bring back some memories, Danny said, smiling a little. Soon both of them walked in, not noticing the shadows moving behind them. Ah, so little Buttercup is hanging out with the boy that Vlad wants. Maybe it's time to tell him who the girls really are. However, the shadows then noticed two other people heading inside, one with annoyance on his face while the other looked upset. I wonder. Later. Danny and Melina played a few games together. Danny had to admit that Melina was good. She beat him soundly in a few games. Even some that he mastered in a few years. She was now playing another game and was really into it. Hold still you little, she said, seeing her chance. Get over here. She shouted with her character before winning the game. Ha! I still got it. Melina smirks. Geez, does Jazz know about this? Or at least Tina? Danny asked. They know. Jazz even beat in a few of them. And she had never touched the game before. Melina said, shaking her head. And I guess Tina didn't even play? Danny asked. She did. Kicked both of our butts. Melina sighs. Danny blinks. Wow. He said. Guess she feels upset about her parents. I mean, if my parents treated me like I was something else and then learn I never was their daughter, I'll be upset too. Melina said. Well, she is fitting in with my family, and you three really do act like sisters, Danny said. Jazz is cool once you get past the whole bookworm thing. And Tina's not as shy once she warms up. Melina said before trying to stop a laugh. Hey, Danny. Did you hear that Tina threw Paulina into a pond during her time with Blade? Melina asked, still trying not to laugh. Yeah. Blade told me all about it. Paulina was trying to get him to have his mother drop the charges she placed on the school. Danny said, wanting to leave out that he was the one that told her. Well, things have started turning around. It doesn't matter how much their parents beg for it, Casper High was being watched from the very beginning. They can't go back to their old ways even if they tried. Melina smirks. Danny smiles before checking the time. It was close to noon. Hey, wanted to get some lunch? He asked her. Melina checked the time as well and did feel a little hungry. Sure. Is there any other place we can go to? I don't mind the nasty burger, but it would be nice to try out other food places. She asked. Yeah, my parents used to go there when me and Jazz were little, Danny said. Lead the way, Mr. Fenton, Melina smirks. As you wish, Ms. Manson. Danny bows. Melina had to laugh at that. They soon left, not noticing Sam glaring at them. Later. Danny and Melina had lunch at a restaurant and talked about their futures. Danny wanted to be an astronaut, and Melina was thinking about joining female wrestling to get started. After lunch, Melina thought her uncle and aunt had finally left and wanted Danny to meet her parents for real this time. Melina paid the bill and soon took him to her home. She was right about her uncle and aunt being gone and opens the door to let Danny in. Mom. Dad. I'm home. She called out. Over here, sweetie. Her father called out. Dad, I'm not 10. Melina groans. I know. But you'll always be my little girl. He said, chuckling. Danny, this is my dad. Dad, this is Danny. Melina said. Nice to meet you, Danny. Her father said, shaking his hand. Same to you, Mr. Danny started, not sure if he had a different last name. Call me Mark. The boys used to call me, Make My Mark, because I was one of the wildest bikers in the group. He said, smirking. Then how did you marry Mrs. Manson? Danny asked, a little confused. Trust me, I was blown away by her beauty. Once she realized I was the man for her, she came running into my arm, begging to get married. Mark smiles. A frying pan hit the back of his head, causing Danny to jump back. That's not what happened. Sarah shouted before taking a breath. Nice to see you again, Danny. And I didn't beg for marriage. Mark kept trying to impress me, but I thought he was the biggest sleazy bag there was. It was only after he stopped acting like a hot shot that I actually fell in love with him. Sarah said. Huh. Danny said. And don't worry, lad. I have a hard skull. Mark said, rubbing the back of his head. And you still got quite a swing. He added. I deck you on our first meeting, Sarah said, shaking her head. So, you were like Mr. Manson? Danny asked. Oh, no. Dad raised Jeremy to think that the Manson name was far more important than anyone else. I wanted nothing to do with that. Still can't believe that he and Mom ever fell in love. Sarah said. Oh, Melina, look what I found, Mark said, pulling out a green guitar. No way. Melina shouted, grabbing it. I thought I lost this. She said, shocked. I found it in the memory boxes. You must put it there and have forgotten all about it. Mark said. Melina quickly pulled up a chair and sat down. She pulled a few strings, seeing if she remembers how to play. She smiles as it all came back to her. Thanks, Dad. She said, smiling. Anytime. How about you play one for your boyfriend? Mark said, pointing at Danny. He's not my boyfriend. Melina shouted, blushing. Yeah, we were just hanging out, that's all. Danny blushed as well. That's what Sarah said when we went on our first date. Mark laughs. Honey, it wasn't a date, Sarah warned him. Did I mention you look cute when you're mad? Mark smirks, only to get hit on the head with a frying pan again. It was Halloween, and the Fusion Fall series were sold out in all stories. However, lots of girls got their hands on many colors, mostly pink, blue, and green. Sadly, none of the boys could get their hands on them because they were made for girls only. Jazz, Tina, and Melina were sitting in Jazz's bedroom, thinking over the crime that hasn't died down. The mystery change person. Since no one knew what the person truly looked like, they went with that name. The girls were looking over the clues that the chief shared with them, trying to see if they could find something that the police missed. Are sure we should be doing this? Tina asked. Yeah, it's Halloween. Doesn't the school have a party going on later tonight? Melina asked. We can't go as the Powerpuff Girls. Jazz said, looking over the clues. Duh. We know that. Melina said, rolling her eyes. Jazz, please. Tina asked, grabbing her hand. Jazz looks from the clues and sighs. They were right, it was Halloween. The time for spooky and fun. And trick-or-treating. Alright, got your costumes? She said, smiling. Yep. Your mom got me a princess costume. My parents barely took me trick-or-treating. Tina said. Ugh, really? Melina groans. I never had a chance to be a princess. I was taken out to trick-or-treating once every 5 years. Tina said. Jazz shook her head. And what about you, Melina? What costume do you have? Jazz asked. Heh, I'm going as a karate MSTR. Dad even got me a real-life black belt. Melina smirks. How did he manage that? Tina added. I got my black belt when I was 10. Melina smiles. Did you say that your dad got you one? Jazz smirks. Melina blinks before she facepalms herself, causing Jazz and Tina to laugh. I hate you. She growls. What about you, Jazz? Tina asked. Well, Dad tried to make me dress up as him or Mom, but I decided to go old school, like Tina. Jazz said. Old school? Melina asked. I'm going as a scientist. A normal scientist. I even brought some safety goggles, which my dad forgets to wear at times. Jazz said. So, we got a scientist, a princess, and a karate MSTR. Why? Does that sound like the oddest pair of friends? Melina asked. Jazz and Tina shrugged before all three girls laugh. Wow, it feels like we really are sisters. Each of us is a single child/sibling. Jazz said. I know what you mean. You two are the very first friends I even made. And I now live here with Jazz. Tina said. Yeah. I don't live here, and I already see you two as my sisters. Melina said. The three smile before Jazz's cell phone rings. She pulls it out and saw that Chief was calling from the number they gave him. What the problem, Chief? She asked in her Blossom's voice. Jazz listens and nods. Yeah, we're aware of Halloween. Don't worry, we know that lots of people are dressing up. Jazz said. Tina giggled as Melina rolled their eyes. Seriously? What makes the Mansons think we're going to attack people because they dress as monsters? Jazz asked, causing Melina to groan. Yeah, we're looking over the clues you gave us. However, since it's Halloween, we're going to save it for later. Jazz told the Chief. Yes, sir. Have a nice Halloween. Tell your daughter we said don't eat too much candy. Yes, sir, I'm sure she'll listen to that. Jazz said before hanging up. Ugh. I can't believe them. Why in the world would we attack people dressing up for Halloween? Most of them are kids. Melina shouted. Seriously. I think Mr. and Mrs. Manson should get their head rechecked. Tina groans. As much as I wish to beat them for that, we can't. We'll be proving them right if we do so. Jazz said. The girls sighed before Jazz checked the time. It's almost time for the party. There's a bathroom down the hall to change. Jazz said. Her friends nod and started to grab their costumes. Jazz smiles before she turns to the bags that held their Powerpuff suits. She was thinking about leaving them behind, but with so many crimes going on in the town, leaving them behind was a big no. Jazz sighs before grabbing her costume. She can worry about it later. She also hid the clues in a secret part of her dresser. No point in letting her parents find out. Later, Casper High. The girls stepped out of the car before Jack peeks out. Are you sure I can't join? He asked. Dad, for the last time. It's for Casper High students only. You didn't even go here. Jazz sighs. Let it go, Jack, Maddie said, stopping him from saying anything else. Fine. Jack sighs, a bit upset. Thanks for the ride, though, Melina said, trying to cheer him up. Well, you girls have fun. Don't eat too much candy. Maddie said before driving off. The girls rolled their eyes, smiling. They soon enter the school, and headed for the gym. Jazz. Tina. Melina. The girls notices Danny, Tucker, and Sam and walked up to them. Sam was dressed as a witch, Tucker was a clown, and Danny was an astronaut. Yeah, Danny. Nice costume. Melina smirks. Thanks. It took a while to make it. Danny said, smiling. Oh, look. It's my royal jester. Tina laughs. I hate you, Tucker said, glaring at Sam. Well, you are a clown. Might as well look the part. Sam smirks. This is not what I wanted to be for Halloween. Tucker groans. So, where are Jesse and Blade? Tina asked. They're running a little late. But they said they'll be here soon. Danny said. Really, dude, why do you hang with them more than us? Tucker asked. Calm down, you big clown. At least Blade isn't like one of those stuck-up people my parents like. Sam said. That's because I'm adopted, remember? Everyone turns and notices the boys. Jesse was dressed as a werewolf as Blade was dressed as a pirate. Your Highness. Blade said, taking off his hat and bowing. Tina blushed before holding out her hand. Blade kisses it, causing Tina to giggle. Jazz smiles as Melina fake gags. So, came to capture your runaway experiment, Doctor? Jesse asked, smirking. Maybe. Still want that cure? Jazz asked, smiling back. It was no secret that Jazz and Jesse were getting close. Danny smiles, glad that his sister had found someone. So, want some punch? The fruit kind, MSTR. Danny asked Melina. Melina laughs, catching his joke. Yes, your MSTR demands it. Melina smirks. As you wish, MSTR, Danny said, heading to the fruit punch. Danny? Did you forget that some could have spiked the punch? Tucker called out. Don't worry, Tuck. It's already covered. Danny said. Seriously? Why would someone do that? Blade asked. Because, and I quote, it makes the party more fun. Jazz said. You know, I thought I see more Powerpuffs here, Tina said, spotting a few people wearing their Powerpuff outfits. I saw a few of them. Mostly wearing pink, light blue, and light green. Tucker said. And one purple. Everyone turns and saw Claria walking up, wearing her purple fusion fall suit, and had her long brown hair tied into a ponytail. Claria. The girls said, hugging their friend. Wow, nice look. Tina said, looking at Claria's ponytail. Thanks. Dad thought it would be better this way. I have thought about cutting it. Claria said. I don't know. I like ponytails. Danny said, coming back. Everyone notices Danny was holding a tray with drinks for everyone. I was wondering what was taking you, my young student, Melina said, smirking. Just hoping to please everyone, MSTR, Danny said, smiling. And you pass. Melina laughs as everyone grabs their drinks. The group cheers and started to enjoy the party. However, the shadows moved on their own before forming a face. My. It's my favorite time of year. Halloween. The humans really know how to get their scare on. It's a thriller. The shadows moved until they spotted the girls and their friends. Well, it looks as if the girls are enjoying this night too. How about I spook things up? A bit later. Jazz sat down after the school dance to Michelle Jackson's Thriller. It was a song that will never be forgotten even after the king of pop passed away. Jazz loved that song and it was fun dancing like a zombie. Hey, Jazz, Jessie said, walking up. Hey, Jessie. She said back. Some dance, huh? Tries you out. Jessie said, sitting next to her. Yeah. Jazz said, sighing. So, was the punch spiked? Jessie asked. Jazz wanted to say yes, due to her leaving in the middle of the dance to grab a drink. It turns out that someone did spike the punch, and it didn't affect her. Either it was a small amount, or the chemical X in her body burns it before it can make her drunk. It was just adding more and more mysteries to the chemical her parents made. Not sure. But please be careful if you do. It could be spiked at any time. Jazz said. Jessie nodded. At some of the parties he's been to with Blade, some people tried to spike the drinks, hoping to live the party up more. So, are you busy this weekend? Jessie asked. Well, me and the girls have plans for the next few days. But I should be free at the weekend. Jazz said. She was planning on having the girls head to the places that the mysterious person had been to and double-check for any clues they might have missed. Huh, people say that you three are as close as sisters. It sounds like you've been friends for a long time. Jessie said. You think so, but we met at the beginning of the school year. I might be the smart one, with Tina being the shy one, and Malina being the tough one, but we pretty much got along well. We became the second well-known group after Danny's. Jazz said. I'm not going to lie. Your brother is a pretty cool guy. The tricks he uses to help Mrs. Drago really helped. She even wanted to adopt Danny as her stress-relieved worker. Of course, he turned her down. Jessie said. Some of those tricks he learned were from me. I was at this longer than him. Jazz said. Wait, she wanted to adopt Danny? She asked once she caught what Jessie said. She said she was joking, but something tells me she was serious. But I know she won't take him away from his family. Jessie said. Jazz rolled her eyes. She hasn't had the chance to talk to Mrs. Drago, but she knew not to judge people based on what they hear. Suddenly, the lights went out, surprising a few students. What the? Malina asked, surprised. Someone turn the lights back on. I don't like the dark. Tina said, grabbing hold of the person next to her. The lights turn back on and Tina sighs. She turns to see who she was holding before smelling something horrible. Ugh. What are you wearing? Rotten corpse cologne. She asked, looking up. Tina's face started to lose its color when she saw she was holding a zombie. But it wasn't a costume. She could tell just by touching it. She slowly backs away as the zombie groans. Hey, man. Nice costume. Someone said. That's not a costume. Tina said, scared. The zombie reached over and grabbed her. Tina was frozen stiff as the zombie lunged toward her. Hey! Hands off! Blade said, pushing the zombie off. However, everyone froze this time. Tina was trying very hard not to scream as she still had the zombie's arms on her shoulders. What the hell? Malina said, quickly running up to her. Jazz also notices and ran to help. They remove the arms before noticing the zombie trying to crawl toward them. Malina walks up and stomps on its head, smashing it into pieces. Okay, that was real. She said, thinking she would just hurt the person in the mask. They soon hear more groaning and turn to see the gym doors being crowned with zombies. Quick! Barrage the doors. Danny said. A few students listened and quickly started to push the tables at the doors. It would stop the zombies for some time, and a few students tried to call their parents. What the? My phone's dead. Paulina said, shocked. Mine too. Dash added. Soon everyone checked their phones and lead they were dead. What's going on here? Malina whispers to her friends. I don't know, but this is like a horror movie. I don't like horror movies. Tina said, shaking. We need to get everyone out of here. Jazz said, knowing they had to become the Powerpuff Girls. We can head to the changing rooms, Malina said. Jazz nodded before placing a calming hand on Tina's shoulder. The blonde girl nodded, and they quietly sneak into the changing rooms. They didn't know that Jessie, Blade, and Danny saw them. They were about to follow when they heard something pounding the floor. CRP. They coming through the floors. Jessie shouted as a zombie burst out. Jessie quickly kicked the zombie's head off as he and the others backed away. They heard the doors burst open before the zombies started to enter the gym. We dead. Dead. Nathan shouted. Shut up, geek. Dash shouted, but he was just as scared. Claria looks around before she feels a hand grab her ankle. She looks down and saw a zombie holding it. She screams, causing many people to freak out. Hey! Everyone stops when Buttercup landed on the zombie holding Clara's foot. Buttercup! Claria shouted, hugging the green Powerpuff. Whoa! Easy there. Buttercup said, shocked. Blossom and Bubbles flew down and took a breath. They blew the zombies away, giving everyone room. Thank goodness you girls are here. Paulina said, taking a breath. Listen, you all need to get out of here. We had a look outside and saw that the streets are clear. Blossom said. And tell the school board I'm sorry about this. Buttercup said, punching a huge hole in the wall. Everyone out. Bubbles said. Blossom. Behind you. Jessie shouted. The pink Powerpuff turned and saw some zombies about to dogpile her. Knowing that they weren't people in costumes, she fires her laser vision, re-killing the zombies. Okay, I'm so skipping the zombie movies this year. Buttercup said. Blossom turns to Jessie and nods in thanks. Get going. We'll hold them off. Blossom said. You heard her. Move. Buttercup said, spotting another zombie heading for her. Buttercup punched it so hard, it was sent flying into the wall, bursting apart. Bubbles kept jumping away from each zombie that tried to grab her. She was still freaking out about the first one that touched her. Stay away. Stay away. She screams. There's too many. Buttercup said, punching another zombie back. Where did they all come from? Blossom asked before a zombie grabbed her from behind. Blossom. Bubbles shouted as the zombies started to pile on her. Get off me. Buttercup shouted when the zombies started to pile on her. Buttercup. Bubbles shouted. She started to back away, growing more scared as the zombies started to close in on her. Go away. Go away. Go away. Bubbles screams. However, something happened. When Bubbles screams, she sends out sound waves from her mouth. It not only blew the zombies away but also tore them apart. Bubbles opened one of her eyes and noticed what she did. Did I do that? She asked, shocked. Girls. She shouted, remembering that her friends were trapped. She turns to the two piles and took a deep breath. She lets out her sonic scream, and blew the zombies off her friends. Blossom and Buttercup were still okay. Their suits were a bit torn up and they had some bite marks on their skin. However, they were already healing. Bubbles? Buttercup asked, surprised. Did you just get a new power? Blossom asked. We can worry about it later, girls. I think I might be able to get rid of them. Bubbles said. It's all yours, sister. Buttercup said, smirking. Bubbles nodded before turning around. Taking another deep breath, Bubbles screams, blowing more of the zombies away. Soon, the zombies were gone, and Bubbles was panting. Her throat hurt from using her new power so much. The girls heard cheering, and looks outside to see the students clapping and cheering for them. They flew out and smiled. Blossom pushes Bubbles to the front, causing people to cheer more, knowing that she was the one to stop the zombies. Well done, girls. A job well done. Everyone froze again as the girls looked around for the voice. Look! Blade shouted, noticing the shadows moving on their own. It soon formed a face and the girls stood ready. It's nice finally meet you. You clearly know how to deal with my special treat. Your treat? Wait, you the one that sends those zombies on us? Buttercup asked. Who are you? Blossom asked. I'm afraid saying my real name will bring horror and dread to those that hear it. But if you must call me something, call me, him. The shadows said. Him? The girls asked. And I must congratulate Bubbles. I didn't expect her to gain a new power and blow my plan away. Him said. Oh yeah? Well, I'm sure she could blow you away with no problem. Buttercup said. I bet she could. If she was so tired from using it so much. Him said, noticing how tired Bubbles was. What do you want him? Blossom asked. Oh, just getting into the fun. I love Halloween. The scares, the costumes. Oh. I get giggly thinking about it. Him laughs. The girls stood ready before him chuckles. But, alas, I had my fun. I brought my scare and had fun. TTFN, ta-ta for now. Him said before shadows disappeared. The girls blinked before Bubbles coughs. She floated back to the ground before she spotted a cup being handed to her. Here, this might help. Blade said. Thanks, Bubbles squeaks, taking the cup. She drowns the drink, feeling her throat. Getting a bit better. Wow, Bubbles, that was some scream. Claria said, walking up. I'll say. Danny agreed. You okay, though? Claria asked. Yeah. Bubbles squeak again before clearing her throat. Yeah. I'll be fine. She said. Clara, Blade, and Danny nod as Blossom and Buttercup floated down. Well, that takes care of the threat. Buttercup said. We better get Bubbles to the professor. He might have something that will help her. Blossom said. Wait. Jessie said, walking up. We're missing 3 more students. He said. Jazz, Tina, and Melina, right? Don't worry, we already saved them. They're fine. Blossom said, knowing they had to come back after changing again. Hey. My phone's working. Paulina said, causing everyone to check their phones. Let's go, girls, Blossom said, knowing that there was another problem they had. Oh. Buttercup. Thanks for saving me. Claria said. Anytime. She said, smiling before the girls flew off. Little did everyone know, him didn't leave. He was watching from the shadows again. A dash of pink, blue, and green. Soon my plan will be so glee. He laughs. Halloween was over and it was time for the voting. Since the mayor was stepping down this year, 2 new people were running for mayor. Sarah Bellum and Jeremy Manson. However, lots of people knew why Mr. Manson was running for mayor. He was hoping become mayor to force the Powerpuff Girls out of town. Ms. Bellum was running for her own reasons, but everyone knew that she wasn't trying to get rid of the girls. Speaking of the Powerpuff Girls. Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup stood with the chief, talking over the crime that was still at large. I see, you found nothing. The chief asked. We checked, double-checked, and even triple-checked. Whoever the person is, he or she knows how to cover their tracks. Blossom said. Sorry, Chief. Bubbles said, sadly. It's fine, girls. But they'll slip up at some point. They all do. The chief said. The girls nodded before they notices Mr. Manson glaring at them. What are you 3 doing here? He asked. Just helping the chief with a crime. Buttercup said, glaring back. Let the police handle the crimes, Jeremy said. Mr. Manson. I'm telling you this right now. If you keep acting this way to the girls, then I can easily remove you from the voting. And won't be the girls asked me to. The chief said. You can't. Once I'm mayor, the girls will have to do what I say. Jeremy said. The girls rolled their eyes. The chief shook his head before stepping up to him. Mr. Manson. I can arrest you right here and now if you keep this up. He warns him. On what charges? Jeremy asked. Hate crime. The chief said. What? Jeremy asked, shocked. Powers or not, you are being hateful towards the girls because of who they are. If you do anything to the girls during your run, I will arrest you and remove you from the office. He said. Jeremy glares before noticing it was almost time for his speech. He glares at the girls one last time before fixing his suit. I swear, he's never going to change. Buttercup groans. Trust me, girls. With how he's been acting, even if he wins the voting, he's not going to be in office for long. The chief said. Well, we already said that we're not taking part in the voting. But if you want our pick, Ms. Bellum. Blossom said. The chief nods before an officer steps up and gave him a report. The chief thanked the officer before turning to the girls. Everyone seems fine so far. Are you sure you can't stick around to help? The chief told them. We'll still be around, chief. We do have normal civilian lives outside of being the Powerpuff Girls. Blossom said. The chief nods before the girls get ready to fly off. Wait. They stopped when they saw a young girl running up to them. Minnie. The chief said, surprised to see his 10-year daughter. I made it. It's so nice to see you again. Minnie said, excited. Bubbles smiled before floating towards her. Glad that you're doing well. We were helping your daddy with a case he's working on. She said. Really? Why didn't you tell me, Daddy? Minnie asked, turning to her father. Wasn't sure if you could handle that I was working with your heroes. The chief chuckles. Blossom and Buttercup smile before Bubbles float back up. Where are you going? Minnie asked. We have to get back to our families. But we're always around. Blossom said. Oh. Okay. Minnie smiles. With that the girls flew off, only to come back as Jazz, Tina, and Melina. The speech went all right. Ms. Bellum was truthful while no one believed Mr. Manson. He also didn't mention anything about the girls, but Jazz, Tina, and Melina knew he was waiting until he won the voting before doing anything about them. That brother of mine. He's in so much trouble. Sarah shouted, not believing what her brother was doing. I swear, he is so different from you, Mark said, shaking his head. Both Jack and Maddie had a hard time believing a single word that Jeremy said. They could tell Jeremy was laying through his teeth. He didn't just have a problem with the Powerpuff Girls. They also had a problem with them. He's so not getting my vote. Jack groans. Melina turns and punches a streetlight, making a dent in it. No one but her friends notices it. Melina. Jazz said, causing the black-haired girl to huff. Can you believe the words coming out of his mouth? Ugh. I so want to punch him. Melina shouted. Jazz and Tina didn't like it either. Jeremy avoided all questions about the Powerpuff Girls while Ms. Bellum was open about all of them. I'm going to clear my head, Melina said, walking away. Once it was safe, Melina flew off, leaving a light green blur behind her. Jazz and Tina both sighed. This was turning out to be a really lousy day. However, the girls weren't the only ones watching the voting. Mojo Jojo was also watching and shook his head. That human is such an amazing liar. He said, shaking his head. Mojo stood up and walked over to his latest weapon. He has been reading and watching the girls over the news and came to understand that he has underestimated the girls. He only knows the girls to fight crooks and not much else. Besides him, and another BRT, the girls haven't fought a lot of supervillains. He was so bashed, thinking he had everything about the girls. Now he knew better. If I had to place my vote, the woman sounds like a better choice, Mojo said, thinking about the voting. He has thought about running for mayor himself, but he thought it was too easy. It was no fun if it was easy. Mojo needs to think this over carefully. And make sure the girls are alone this time. He said, thinking over his MSTR plan. He turns back to his secret weapon before covering it. Mojo needs more information. Then use secret weapon. He said before turning to a suit of armor. Mojo smirks and started to put on the finishing touches. It will only be a matter of time before he learns everything about the girls. And soon the world will bow to me, Mojo Jojo. He laughs. Later. Melina flew back to her house and notices the limbo in the driveway. She quickly checks to make sure it was safe before landing. She opens the door and was greeted by a shout. You can't be serious. I am. This town needs to understand we can do things by ourselves. Melina groans and walks inside. She noticed Sam on the couch with her father, and her mother and uncle were arguing again. You were lying, Jeremy. You avoided talking about the girls so they wouldn't catch on to your plan. This is getting out of hand. Sarah shouted. Those girls have no business stepping in. The police had everything under control. Jeremy yelled. Against robots? Where does it say that Amity Park was under attack and the police dealt with them? Show me, I might think about what you said. Sarah told him. Jeremy opens his mouth but stops. You see. I look over this town before sending Melina to you. There is nothing that tells me that robots attacked the town before and the police dealt with it. Sarah said. Doesn't mean we need some superpowered freaks to take over. Jeremy said. Melina had enough. She was so sick and tired of her uncle talking about her and her friends in a bad light. And how do you think the police should handle the robots, Uncle Jeremy? She shouted, surprising her whole family. You hate the girls so much that you fail to look past your own beliefs. You fail to understand that you can't just force people away like that. Melina said. The town doesn't need, he started. Wake up, Uncle Jeremy. The town fully understands that the Powerpuff Girls are people. You don't. All you and Aunt Pamela care about is living out the family name you want to. Melina said. This our family, Melina. Sarah lost sight of that. Jeremy said. I lost sight of it. Sarah screams. Dear. Mark spoke up, causing his wife to look at him. Once again, Amity Park is under attack. This time but none other than Mojo Jojo. The police are already getting people to safety while we wait for the Powerpuff Girls to save the day once more. Lancer Thunder said. They won't be, Jeremy said before his sister glares at him. Will you knock it off? If you keep this up, we going to have a long talk. Sarah said. The police can handle it. Jeremy shouted. Mark sighs before he notices someone was missing. Where Melina? He asked. Buttercup spotted Blossom and Bubbles and caught up to them. You saw the news? She asked. Yep. Wondering what Mojo has planned this time? Bubbles asked. Most likely to destroy us and take over the world. Buttercup said. I don't know, girls. Something feels off about this. Blossom said, a bit worried. Let's think about this after we send that monkey to jail. Buttercup said, pounding her fist into her palm. Chimp. Bubbles corrected her. Whatever. Buttercup groans. Blossom sighs before the girls flew over to Mojo Jojo. Not so fast, Mojo Jojo. They shouted. Mojo turns around and smiles. Ah. Girls. Glad you can make it. Mojo said, smirking. Whatever plan you have now, we're going to stop it. Buttercup said. Before you do, can you answer this question, please? Mojo asked. The girls looked at each other and nodded. Mojo doesn't plan on running for mayor, but what does the male human hide the fact he hates you, girls? He asked. Mr. Manson is stuck in his own world, Blossom said. He doesn't think we're people, Bubbles said next. And thinks we should leave this to the police. Buttercup finished. Mojo shook his head. Now he knows who he wants to win the voting. Well, thank you for answering Mojo's question. Now, let's get down to business. Mojo said, getting ready to fight. Whatever armor you have, won't last a second against us. Buttercup said, getting ready as well. Trust me, girls. What this armor can do, is the least of your worries. Mojo smirks. Blossom raised an eyebrow, but Buttercup went on the attack. She threw a punch that Mojo blocks. Buttercup growls and threw a kick. That Mojo also blocks. Buttercup threw all the punches and kicks she could, but Mojo blocks them all. Ahahaha. You can't hit me. He laughs before grabbing Buttercup's arm. He then spins her around before sending her flying. Buttercup. Bubbles shouted before glaring at Mojo. Bad monkey. She said, charging at him. Mojo started blocking her attacks before Blossom joined. Mojo was blocking both of them at the same time, but Blossom was already working out a plan. Break. She said, having her and Bubbles fly back. Mojo was confused before he was kicked in the back by Buttercup. He growls before turning to her, only for Bubbles to hit him next. All-out attack. Blossom cried before the girls flew all around Mojo. With each attack Mojo blocks, he was hit by another one that he couldn't block. The girls were playing smart, Mojo couldn't keep up with all three of them. Blossom grabs Mojo and tosses him into the air. Bubbles. Buttercup. Blue-green. Blossom shouted. Both Powerpuffs flew into the air, past Mojo. They then turned around before diving back down. Bubbles flipped herself right side up before she and Buttercup grabbed hands. They then started to spin, their blurs soon making a spinning blue-green ball. They slam into Mojo, destroying his armor. Mojo gasps in surprise before Blossom grabs his cape and wraps him up in it. Curses! Mojo shouted. So much for your armor. Buttercup smirks. Blossom frowns. That felt too easy. Like Mojo wanted to lose. Blossom? Bubbles asked, snapping her from her thoughts. Sorry, girls. Let's give him to the police. She said. However, Blossom was still unsure. Today was weird. First, Mr. Manson refuses to tell anyone about his plans for them, and now Mojo throws the fight. She doesn't think they're working together, but something tells her she needs to keep her guard up. Danny sighs as he walked up to mansion. It was bigger than Sam, though only housed 4 people. Danny didn't get it. Mrs. Drago once more invited him over, and he remembered what happened the last time he was here. He was only trying to help Mrs. Drago from being stressed out. Then out of nowhere, she asked if he wanted to stay with her. She then laughs and mentions she only joking. However, from Jesse's and Blade's looks, she wasn't. But he did learn that she was a nice person overall. Danny rings the doorbell and saw Sabrina open it. Hello, handsome, Sabrina said, smiling. Sis, he's taken. Blade said, walking up. Hey, Danny. Mom invited you over again? He asked. Yeah. I know Mrs. Drago is a nice person, but are you sure she's not joking? Danny asked. I know Mom might be strange, but she would never take you from your family. I mean, she's better taking care of me. Blade said. After it took you a year to get over your parents' death, Sabrina said. Blade sighs. Danny felt bad for him. Blade did tell about his BRTH parents and they sounded like nice people. He wishes he could have met them. So, are you guys going to hold up the door or let Danny in? Jesse spoke up. The 2 siblings step aside, letting Danny walk in. So, Mrs. Drago invited you again? Jesse asked. Yeah. Didn't say what for. Danny said. Mom, not again, Sabrina said, face palming herself. Again? Danny asked. Oh right. Mom's surprise invites. That usually means she has something and needs the person that helps her back over. Most of the time, it's just some silly thing that doesn't mean much. Blade said, remembering the time she invited other people over. Might as get it over with. And whatever you do, don't back out. Jessie warned him. Danny blinks, noticing the serious looks on all three faces. Something told him he was not going like what happens if he does back out. Danny soon near the door as Jessie and Blade returned to their rooms. Sabrina wished him luck before kissing his cheek. Through it was more of a good luck kiss than some love kiss. Danny gulps and knocks on the door. Come in, Mr. Fenton. Danny blinks and opens the door. He walks up to Mrs. Drago and stood ready. Relax, Danny. I'm not going to bite. She laughs. Well, Jessie, Blade, and Sabrina warned me about your invite. I'm not the first person you invited. Danny said. You're not. But trust me, what I have in mind is something that you will like. Mrs. Drago said, getting up. Danny sighs and follows her out of the room. He was unsure what she was doing, but Danny did feel he needed to speak up about something. Mrs. Drago? He said. Please, call me Sally. She said. Sally, why did you take Blade in? Danny asked. Simple, really. For a long time, I want a son and a daughter. When Sabrina was born I was halfway there. But my husband was disappointed. He wanted a son and only a son. He ignored Sabrina throughout her childhood. No matter how much she tried, he would act like she didn't exist. I had enough. Since the family was under my name, I kicked him out and told him to never come back until he accepts Sabrina. No, the fool, he would never accept he had a daughter. It was only a few after he left I decided to try again. However, lots of the men I date wanted my money instead of giving me a son. I just about gave up when Sabrina told me about the accident and the sole survivor. I knew Blade was upset about his parents, and being in an orphanage wasn't going to help him. I had to wait for a few days before I could adopt him. Of course, when Blade first came here, he locked himself in the room I gave him. I was growing worried with each passing day. Then, to my shock, he came out and told me that he shouldn't be alive. I learned that he was dealing with survivor guilt. Not wanting to hear him talk like that, I set him straight. I told him to think about what his parents would feel if the roles were reversed, what his parents would think if they saw him like this. It worked. It took him a year before he started calling me mom, and I finally gained the missing piece of the family. She said. So, what did you want to adopt me? Danny asked. Let's just say, I sometimes wonder if I should have another child. Either by birth or adoption. And your tricks for relieving stress work wonders. But, I know your family is still alive and I'm not the kind of woman that would steal someone's kid. But just know, if something does happen, you're welcome here any time. Mrs. Drago said, smiling. Danny blinks before thinking about it. Ah. Here we are. Mrs. Drago said, making him look up. She opens the door and leads Danny inside. Danny grasped as he saw the room was full of NASA stuff. It even had a model of the first spaceship that was launched. What? How? Danny asked. Jessie and Blade told me all about your dream. I wanted to make you feel welcome here. I might have gone a little overboard. She said, sheepishly. Danny just stares in shock. He walks up and notices a moon rock. Is this real? He asked. It cost me a lot of money. And that was for just one moon rock. Mrs. Drago said, sighing. How? Danny asked. Long story. But just know I'm not doing this to force you away from your parents. I know you still love them, and won't leave them until of legal age. But if things do start being too much, just know that you're free to come here whenever you want. Mrs. Drago said. Mom. Really? They turned and saw Jessie and Blade at the doorway with Blade facepalming. What? I'm trying to make him feel welcome. She said, giggling. Blade groans before Jessie walked in. She did the same thing for me as well. Of course, my mother left, and my dad is in jail. So I have more of a reason to stay here. He said. Danny just looked around the room. Still trying to get over his shock. I think you broke him, Mom. Blade said, groaning. Well, Danny can have all the time to play with these later, Jessie said, grabbing his arm. Hey, we have plans and we want to get them started, right now. Blade pointed out. Very well, boys. Enjoy your time. Mrs. Drago said, walking out of the room. Blade sighs as he helps Jessie drag Danny out of the room. Later. After dragging Danny out of the mansion, and splashing water on his face to snap him back to reality, the three started walking down the street. Sorry, guys. I wasn't expecting Mrs. Drago to surprise me like that. I mean, how on earth was she able to buy a real moon rock? Danny said. It took me a while to use to Mom's way with money, but she's not the kind that flashes huge stacks of cash wherever she goes. Blade said. Just try not to let it get to you. If your friend, SMA knows anything about rich people, she doesn't want you turning into them. Jessie said. And if you do, we're going to smack you until you're back to normal, Blade added. Got it. Got it. Danny said, holding up his hands in defense. Still it was like she was expecting another kid that has a love for deep space. He told them. Blade groans as Jessie shook his head. They walked past a store with TVs before a report turned on. Greetings everyone, I am Tiffany Snow. We once again bring you a new update about the voting for the mayor's office. As it stands, Sarah Bellum leads with 27% of the voting with Jeremy Manson with 2%. Since the voting is still a month away, no one knows who will win the voting. In other news, the Powerpuff Girls have been cited again. This time, not saving the day or catching criminals. It was stated that the girls were at Amity Park's Nasty Burger ordering some food. When asked, Blossom told everyone that even superheroes need to eat. It goes to show that even superpowered people take the time to act like normal people. Jessie, Blade, and Danny all watched the news before it started to cover something else. They walked away before Danny spoke up. You know, it would be pretty cool to have powers of our own, Danny said. And why's that? Jessie asked. Come on. You guys read comic books, right? What kid didn't want to grow up to be a superhero? Danny asked them. Jessie sighs and nods. He did have every superhero comic in his room. Alright, you made your point. But why? Blade said. Think about it. The girls have been protecting the town since the first robot attack 2 months ago. As powerful as they are, they can't keep it up for long. They take a break every once in a while, but what if something happens that they can't make it? Like what if they get too sick? If I had powers, I would gladly take over for them while they feel better. Danny said. And make out with Buttercup. Jessie teased. And you wouldn't do the same with Blossom? Danny said. Blade shook his head. Danny really fit in with them. Almost like he was their long-lost brother. The boys didn't know that the shadows were watching them. A soft crackle was coming from the shadows before they reach out. What the? Danny shouted, seeing the shadows wrap around their legs. Hey, get off. Jessie said, trying to move. Let go. Blade yelled as the shadows climb up their bodies. The boys trash about, trying to get free. But it was no use, the shadows cover them and started to pull them into the ground. Another crackle was heard before everything went quiet. Claria waves as her father dropped her off at school. She walks into the school and saw her friends. Jazz. Tina. Malina. She said, walking up to join them. Hey, Claria. How's it going? Malina asked, smiling. Good. My dad is getting time off of work today. We're going to spend the whole weekend together. Claria smiles. Good for you. Tina said, bouncing a little. Well, at least your dad isn't as weird as mine. Jazz sighs. I thought you loved your dad. Claria asked, confused. Don't get me wrong, I do love him. He just has a habit of jumping things and taking them the wrong way. I know he cares about me and Danny, but sometimes I wish he would look at the bigger picture. Jazz explained. Well, my dad loves riding his bike. He told me that the old gang is coming to town today. So, it might get a little wild. Malina said. They're not going to, Claria started. No, my dad's gang isn't going to cause trouble. They just like going on road trips and having some normal fun. They already named me and Mom honor members. Malina said. Even though you don't have a bike. Tina pointed out. Neither does Mom. Malina countered. Claria giggles. It was like watching sisters playfully fight. However, everyone notices Jennifer walking down the hall, looking upset. Her time as princess was at an end thanks to her father. She walks past the group, sending a hateful glare at Claria that the girls notices. She still blames you for what happened? Malina asked. Yeah, Claria said. Claria knew it wasn't her fault. Jennifer was the one that attacked her and got in trouble. By the way, Claria, Tina spoke up. Yeah. She said, facing her. I see you're keeping the ponytail, Tina said. Oh, yeah. I have to admit, it's been growing on me since Halloween. Claria said, smoothing her ponytail a bit. I'll say. Malina smiles. Jazz smiles. She turns to open her locker when Claria notices something dropping out of her pocket. Hey, Jazz. You dropped something. She said, picking it up. That's strange, this looks like the bow that Blossom wears. She thought. Blast it. I really need to make sure that stops falling out. Jazz said, taking the bow back. Jazz had that bow since she was a kid. Before she switches it for the headband. Tina said. I used to wear this thing all the time. Since Mom found it, I couldn't depart from it. I kind of got the habit of carrying with me wherever I go. Jazz said, blushing. Claria smiles. Well, it's a nice bow. I would like to see you wear it at some point. She said. Maybe. Jazz said, rubbing the back of her head, sheepishly. Just like Danny, Malina said as Tina giggled. Speaking which, has any see Danny? Or Jessie and Blade for that matter? Jazz asked. Not really, then again we are on opposite sides of the school, Malina said. Jazz nods before the four head to their classes. Meanwhile, Marcus was stilling at his desk in the station, looking over his report. Yo, Marcus. He looks up to see another officer waving at him. Hey, what's up? He asked. Still on the mystery person case? The office asked. Yeah. It's confusing everyone. Even the Powerpuff girls. He said. Yeah, about that. The officer said, walking up to them. I know the girls are here to help, but I can't help to wonder if we should let them. He said. What? Marcus asked. Now, I'm not following what Mr. Manson is saying. I'm just saying that while I'm grateful for the girls' help in the case, I'm thinking maybe we should get them involved. I mean, they're teenagers. Do you really think we need to involve teens? He asked. Marcus leans back in his chair, thinking over his fellow officer's words. It was true that girls were just teenagers, and there was proof that the girls do have a normal life when not saving the day. They were letting them take care of some crimes on their own. Marcus. The chief wants to see you. Another officer said. I'll be right there. He called back before turning to the officer he was talking to. The girls have been a huge help to us. I'm sure if the chief doesn't want them involved, he'll tell them. Marcus said, getting up. Casper, hi. Jazz was starting to get worried. It was around lunchtime and she still didn't see any sign of the boys. Not even Sam and Tucker knew where Danny was. She was almost thinking about becoming Blossom and headed out to look for them. Jazz, calm down, Melina said, stopping her. We know you're worried, but you can't leave in the middle of school, Tina told her. I know. But this is starting to become worrisome. It's not like for Danny to miss a day without reason. Jazz said. Yeah, Blade's the same, Tina said. I'm pretty sure Jessie doesn't miss a day either, Melina said. None of the girls like it. However, they noticed Jennifer chatting on her phone. They wanted to use their super hearing to see what she was up to, but Claria joined them. Hey girls, are you okay? She asked. Fine, just a little worried about the boys, Melina said, acting like they weren't trying to listen to Jennifer. Jazz, on the other hand, caught a few words from Jennifer before Claria joined them. Payback, money, and free to do what they want with her. She had no idea what she was talking about, but it seemed that her father didn't punish her enough to learn her lesson. But until they had enough info, they couldn't do anything about it. The rest of the school day went by, but there was still no sight of the boys. The minute school let out, Jazz hid away and became Blossom. She flew through town, looking for any sign of them. It was only an hour later that Bubbles and Buttercup met up with her. Girls. Blossom said, surprised. Really, Blossom? We were going to help you. Buttercup said. Sorry. I'm just worried. She said. We know. Let's look around. We should find them between the three of us. Bubbles said. Thanks. I've already searched downtown. Buttercup, check out the east side. Bubbles, take the west side. I'll cover the north. Blossom said. They nodded and soon split up. Claria walked back home, wondering where her father was. The weekend was coming up, and the chief promised to let her father come home early. She walks up to the door before taking out her keys. She stops when she notices that something was off. She carefully opens the door and peeks inside. The house was trashed, like a fight happened here. She walks around growing worried with each passing second. She stops when she heard a noise. Pulling out some pepper spray, she carefully walks towards the noise. Claria jumps when a gun came from around the corner and she sprays the person, which turns out to be a police officer. The officer screams as she covered his face, causing his partner to rush out. Claria. He said, putting his gun away. Sorry. She said as the other officer washed his face off at the sink. Well, you're Marcus's daughter all right. The officer said, checking on his partner. What are you doing here? And where's my dad? Claria asked. The chief wanted Marcus to look over one more case before letting him go home. He was supposed to call the chief to let him know, but we haven't heard from him. The chief sends us to check up on him. The officer said. Claria looks around. Something was wrong. She had taken in some of her father's police training. She knew something was wrong. And she didn't like it. Where's my father? She asked. 2 hours later. The girls met back up before sighing. Nothing? Blossom asked. Checked, double-checked, and triple-checked my place of the town, nothing. Buttercup said. Ditto. Bubbles said. Blossom looks down, looking more worried. Before she said anything, their phones started to ring. Blossom pulled out her phone and saw it was from the number they gave the police chief. What's the matter, chief? She asked, answering the phone. She listened and became surprised. Right away, chief. We'll be right there. Blossom said. What's the matter? Bubbles said. It's Claria. Her father is missing. Blossom said. The girls made it to the station when they saw Claria sitting in the waiting room. Girls? She said, surprised. Clara. We just heard the news. Are you alright? Bubbles said, checking on the teen. I'm fine, Claria said, little surprised. Girls, glad you can make it. The chief said, walking up. What do you know? Blossom asked. I let Marcus off early so he and have the trip he plans with his daughter. Before I did, I need his thoughts on a case. After that, I let him go. However, he was supposed to call me to let me know that he was off duty until the trip was done. I didn't hear from him. I sent 2 of my officers to check on him and they had a run with Claria. Hit one of my officers with a pepper spray. He said. Buttercup snickers only for Blossom to whack the back of her head for that. What the officers found was that the place was trash like a fight went down. There was no sign of Marcus anywhere. He said. That doesn't sound good, Blossom said. I know you girls might be busy with other things, but if you have the time, the chief started. We'll help. Officer Marcus is a friend of ours. Blossom said. Thanks, girls. The chief said. I might be able to help. Everyone turns and saw a strange woman walking up to the. She wore a brown cloak, keeping her face hidden. However, Claria could feel a pair of eyes looking at her before the chief spoke. And who are you? He asked. A friend of Marcus. I heard of his kidnapping and searched for him on my own. I was able to find where he is. She said, looking at the girls. He's being held in the West Side neighborhood, by the Street Ride Gang. She said. The Street Ride Gang. The girls said. Buttercup knew of that gang. They were the rivals of her father's bike gang. Unlike her father's biker gang, who just rode across the country for the fun, this group caused trouble where they went. And they really hate the cops. That doesn't sound good. Bubbles said, a bit scared. Claria looks down, she knew of that gang too. If her father was caught by them then he would be in trouble. When no one was looking, Claria sneaks through the door, not knowing that the woman did notice. What are we standing around for? Buttercup said. Hold it, Buttercup. We need to know about this gang before we try anything. Blossom said. That didn't stop the girl. The woman said, surprising them. The chief turns and saw that Claria was gone. Claria? She must have gone to save her father by herself. He said, figuring it out. Come on, girls. Blossom said, causing 2 to nod. With that, the girls flew out of the station. The chief sighs and turns to the woman, but she disappeared. He shook it off and turned to other officers. Get prepared. The girls will need backup for this. He told them. The officers nodded and rushed to get ready. One of their own was taken and they were going to save him. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 5. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and Phantom Fan 21 on FANFICTIONnet. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video, till then goodbye.